This right back, Charlie, definitely.
People deluded, I'm back again.
Come on, Ian. Come on.
Because you always use that active red light defending. I think it's like.
Are we live? Of course we're live. People, Deluded, I'm back again. I'm happy to bring you lot this video. I've got two special guests, two big Ajax fans. By now, when you see the video come out, click the link in the bio, people, and make sure you're taking in their YouTube content. How you doing, lads, man? I hope you're well and safe, and thank you for tuning in with me, man.
All good, bud. Thanks for having us, man.
Yeah, man, all good.
Good. I've always wanted to ask, like, are you lot based in I guess the Netherlands, or I heard a British accent there, man, and the way we was talking in the DMs, I thought, are these English lads? I don't know, like I was confused, but it don't matter, man.
Well, I am from the Netherlands, but Ajax fans come from everywhere. So exactly. Luke lives in the UK.
Yeah, man, Reading.
No, you're not that far from London then. Okay. What draws you lot to become Ajax fans? Where did you lot story start in terms of supporting, the Dutch Giants?
You start, Luke, because mine is a little bit...
Yeah, mine's a bit of a silly story. So when I was younger, I had a Champions League PS1 game and I couldn't change the team. So I always picked Ajax as the A. And then you can't watch the Eredivisie in this country. So it's been hard over the years to try and watch them, but you find more ways as you get older. But yeah, that's how I started.
And yourself?
Yeah, for me, look at the gray hairs. I mean, I've been here a while.
Wisdom,
I moved from Curacao, from the island, when I in '91. I was already watching. I was 8. I was already watching like summaries of games on the island, but I was always fan of Ajax and the way they played, the possession game, the attacking. Back in the day, they had players like Bergkamp, Seedorf, Edgar Davids, players that came up. And I mean, 95, we had our Champions League win. So all that coming together, the best players, playing with a young team, always being bold. That made me a fan of Ajax. Always loved to watch them.
I mean, it's very difficult. I don't support Ajax, but it's very difficult not to have an admiration for, your club, your establishment, the way you look at football, the players who have come through. I think definitely where Arsenal are concerned under Arsene Wenger, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of things to love about the club. Don't want to take the smile off you boys' faces, but last time I looked at the league table, you lot are 5th. What's going on with Ajax this current season, man?
Go ahead, Luke.
Don't be shy. Let us have it, man.
Yeah. It's poor choice of managers over the last couple of seasons. I think there's a lot of incomings and outgoings in terms of the supervisory board, the people who run the club essentially. And I think we've not been able to settle with anyone really since Overmars left and Ten Hag left. So it's been a bit of choppy, changey, people coming, people going, and just a poor selection of technical director and a manager so far this season. So obviously, about Sven Mislintat from his time at Arsenal. Yeah, he came over and they put their faith in him, and he decided to try and pick a manager in Maurice Stein, who overachieved with Sparta Rotterdam, and then decided to give him a chance, and ultimately didn't work out for either of them.
Facts. What have you got to add to that?
Well, what I have to add, it started all with Mark Overmars, to be honest. When he left, he was our sporting director. Everything was going well. Him and Erik ten Hag and Van der Sar were really a good team together. When he left, our board, let's say, made wrong decisions, I would say. They left the club without a sporting director for a year and a half. And when the sporting director came, they gave him full control. No CEO at the club, no one to have a debate with or to understand. Exactly. And they gave him free reign. And this is the second season we're struggling a lot. And you have to understand that Ajax, we always our best players always leave, right? So not having a sporting director is for a year and a half, is just really silly if you think about it. If you have to rebuild every season, selling your best players, you need somebody also that's constantly looking at the market, at the newest talents coming up, etc. And we didn't have that. I mean, from the start, going as a CEO, trying to also take the sporting director role, that was too much for him. He made also a lot of bad decisions. So actually, we're struggling with 2 seasons of just terrible transfer windows.
That sounds poor to hear, man. And I defo was getting a bit of PTSD as an Arsenal fan. We've definitely been there. Do you lot have faith that, you'll be able to turn it around, or the directors will put people in the right position so that you lot can get back to glory days?
Yeah, man. I think they're already in the process of doing it. They started bringing about, like, Van Gaal came in. It's somewhere in the supervisory board. I think they've either done it or they are planning to bring Danny Blind back. So they're bringing personnel back that are of Ajax. Former players, former managers, or people that know the Ajax way. John van Schip is the new manager. Well, I'll say new manager. He's the current manager at the moment that took over from Stein. So he's a former Ajax player. So they're trying to bring back the Ajax identity within the personnel and staff around the club.
I hear that. And yourself?
Same. I mean, the biggest part of it was bringing back Louis van Gaal. I mean, that's a big name to restructure Ajax, give its philosophy back, its Ajax DNA back. And that's a good start. But our CEO starts in March because we took the CEO over from AZ. So for most Ajax fans, I think they see when the CEO starts, that will be bringing the new beginnings for Ajax. Everybody looking in the same direction and, bringing back Ajax to the glory days and the type of players we want.
I mean, as an Arsenal fan, obviously, we've gone out the League Cup, we've gone out the FA Cup, Champions League and the Premier League, we're still in it, but it's a pipe dream. That's the only way we can kind of salvage our season. So, like, with you lot being fifth, I'm unclear where you lot are in the cups, if you're still in any cups. How do you lot salvage your season or somehow put a smile on your fans' face come the end of the year?
Papi, you could take this one, man.
Just trusting the process, trusting that we have certain players in our team that have the capabilities of playing the Ajax way. The restructuring Ajax is doing, understanding they made mistakes, the CEO coming in, all this is bringing us a little bit of hope for next season. Also, we were 17th, I think, in the league at a certain point with Stein as a coach.
Crazy for Ajax, man.
Exactly. And we even lost from amateur team in the Dutch Cup. So really, it was crazy, to be honest, the last couple of weeks. But it's going the right direction. John van Schip is handling it much better. The same group, we're seeing progression, we're seeing growth. Every week, they're playing a little bit better. So that's where our hope, our joy comes from. But we also, as Ajax fans, we always know that we always come back to a rebuilding stage. It might take 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, but that's at least the goal, to compete in the Champions League. But that's the goal always, to compete in Champions League and show what kind of football we bring, actually.
I hear that. That's a good point, really and truly. How did both of you, because obviously you're Ajax fans, so indirectly you're fans of the Dutch league. Bit of 2 questions in one. Where do you lot think the Dutch league ranks in terms of the other leagues? Because I do think as Premier League fans, we can kind of be quite snooty and people say things like a farmers league and all these things, whether it be about Holland or about France. But then when it comes to transfer season, everybody's an expert on players in these countries and they want these players in these countries. So like, how do you lot feel about how, Dutch football is kind of portrayed to the outer world? And also, what do you lot think about the future of Dutch football? Because there seems to be quite a few young players coming on the scene and things like that. Arsenal obviously got Timber. A number of them have been bought from to other clubs as well from Ajax.
So it's quite interesting because the reality is the Premier League is the strongest league in the world, right? And then it's followed by La Liga and Bundesliga naturally because of the clubs there. So sadly, the Eredivisie looks at it as like a smaller league, like you said. People can look at it jokingly as a farmers league or so. But the reality is they produce a lot of good young players, but a lot of them also come from, Iceland. There's a player called Hlinson at Ajax who's come from young Ajax and has just come into the first team. And he is Icelandic, I believe. And then you have players like Kudus who have come from Nordsjælland in Denmark. And then they've gone on to the Premier League and they managed to get their move. So whilst not every single player is being brought through the young academies and things like that, but also it's a good foundation for players trying to make their step up from Norway, from Denmark and things, because the level's not that high where they're going to struggle, but it's better than the countries that they're coming from. So it's a good platform. But at the same time, I look at leagues like the Bundesliga and I don't really see many players coming through there. Dortmund do a great job of buying players and producing them and playing them and then selling them, but you don't really see many amazing Germans, for example, come through. You know, they have to do a lot of buying, and that maybe that's why the league is 3 teams at the top, always, mainly, you know. So you look at the Eredivisie and it can go one way and the other usually. Like Ajax have had an upside down season, you know, and the teams that have tried to capitalize on that and make their way up the table. So, you know, there are pros and cons with the league, in my opinion, man.
I think you're bang on the money, man. Have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I just want to make you understand like what the Eredivisie stands for. We don't have many players that play in their prime anymore in the Eredivisie. It's basically youth development, or we have older players that are finishing their career in the Eredivisie. But I mean, look at what's happening at Ajax. Everything at 22 or younger is already being bought by the Premier League. So the money changed the whole football world, so to say. Premier League can spend so much more than other leagues that we're not holding on to the best players anymore till they're like 24, 25, having them in their prime. No, in their prime, they're already in a different league. But if you consider like how many players that came through the Ajax youth and played in a very high level, like we're talking Eriksen, Vertonghen, Zlatan, Suarez. I mean, all these players had
Very
their
long
base
list.
at the Eredivisie. So, you know, there's a lot of quality that comes through it, but you know, at such a young age, you cannot expect too much from them.
You touched on it there, yeah. And obviously, I love youth football. And I think in today's day and age, if a young player plays great for 10 minutes, he needs to be bought for 100 million and he's kind of stockpiled at bigger clubs. You kind of mentioned it with players not kind of staying to their peak. Now, obviously, money talks. You know, Premier League are littered with money. I can't begrudge PSV, Ajax, or anyone when they're flashing this cash at a young player and selling them and whatnot. But how do you lot feel about that? Do you think there's something to be said in terms of stability, getting 50, 100 appearances? I'm not going to quite say there is an expectation or pressure playing for Ajax, but I do think, you know, we're going to get on to Mr. Hato, if I could pronounce his name correctly. He's 17, already being linked with Arsenal. Do you think there's something worth in, you know, staying at a club like Ajax, developing without the pressure of the world, kind of learning your craft, getting experience, and then potentially moving on?
Yeah, this is the thing with some players like Gravenberch, for example. He, in my opinion, left maybe a year too early. But when Bayern Munich come and knock on your door, you know, it's a chance to make more money, a chance to go and prove yourself in a bigger team on the bigger stage. Absolutely, I wish that all the big players like Frankie and that was able to stay longer, you know. But unfortunately, people like Frankie, like Timber, their time does come where they're ready to make that jump. And actually, Timber was one of the ones who stayed an extra year maybe than he should have, but, you know, in different people's opinions, you know. So, you know, you want them to stay and play Champions League football, for example, on the big stage with Ajax, because one, it helps our team, obviously. We have to think about that. But at the same time, it does allow them to play without pressure to an extent, because Ajax are never a team in the last 10, 15 years that are expected to win the Champions League. That 18-19 team was just a freak team where things were going in the right way for us, you know. But ultimately, we never expected to get that far, and we never have been really since. So, you know, it allows us a platform for these players to perform at the highest level without the pressure, so they can work on their own game, get used to it, and then ultimately make that move elsewhere, in my opinion.
That's a great point, man. What have you got to add on that? Fantastic point.
I mean, the Premier League, look, the Premier League is a different beast. And we've seen that with Antony, right? He was good in the Eredivisie. Most of us said not ready for the Premier League. And he went to the Premier League, and we see it. You know, he's a kind of player that if you come into a structured team, he might have a better chance. But in a struggling team, and you're expecting a young player, a winger that plays a little bit further from the goal than he's used to at Ajax, to create and to assist and create goals, etc. It's maybe too much pressure for these youngsters immediately to get there. You know, they have to adjust to the league. If we consider, like, for instance, Virgil van Dijk played at Southampton for a while before he even make a step to Liverpool. And Ake at City also played at Southampton also, or Bournemouth, sorry. Played at Bournemouth for a while and before going to City. So all these players had time before they went to the biggest club in the Premier League. And I think if you make the step from the Eredivisie, you need a year, you need a season to get up to par, especially at the age. Look, if you go in your peak, like Ziyech or something like that, fine. Then you should immediately show your skills and you should be there. But youngsters, I think you need to have a little bit more patience with.
Did you not think Antony would struggle this much though, for example? Because like he looked like a really big star at Ajax. Obviously the quality is still there, but you can't really, you'd be scratching your head for a good game he played for Man United, really and truly. Did you both think he would struggle after leaving Ajax this much at Manchester United? And if you did, do you think it's more psychological, or do you think it's just his development in line with his decision making and all that sort of stuff?
For me, Antony was never a Premier League winger in a sense. For me, anyway, he's got a great, I think, 5-yard burst, but he never really had the pace to be able to be a Premier League winger, in my opinion. You look at the likes of Saka, Martinelli, players like that who are able to have really good sprint speed as well as acceleration. And Antony was usually a beater man in a way where he'll make you go one way, he'll cut inside and he'll shoot, and he'll try to cross or shoot. When we had Haller, most of his crosses were cut inside, cross to Haller, who would head it in that Champions League season when we beat Dortmund, for example, So it works to an extent. I think at Man United, there's so many more issues there that it doesn't just come down to Antony. It comes down to, he's not gelling with the team. The whole team's not gelling, and it's just one whole big catastrophe as opposed to just Antony. But at the same time, you expect more from how much they spent for him,
I think you're right on that, man. What have you? Because you mentioned Manchester United. Can never say his name. Is it Van der Veen? Is it Van der Veen? The central midfielder?
Van der Beek.
Yeah. I can never pronounce his name. It's quite horrible. But like he was quite good, and like he's another one that's kind of struggled. It's like I genuinely forget he's at Manchester United. Like, did you not think that would happen to him?
Yes, I would. I thought it wasn't it wasn't the right decision for him. Look, Donny van de Beek is kind of the type of player like Klaassen. I don't know if you know how Klaassen plays, but he's more dangerous when, as a 10, he can come into the box and create an extra person in the box and
late man runs.
Exactly. And the time that Donny van de Beek went there, I'm not completely sure, but I think Ole Solskjaer was the coach back then, and they were playing a very counter-attack oriented style, which doesn't suit Donny. So from that moment, I was like, okay, this is a wrong decision from your side. I hope you're going to get chances. I hoped when Ten Hag came that he would get more chances because he wants to play a little bit more attacking, a little bit further off his goal. But even then, I think the injury ruined it for him. Maybe he's not the same player anymore. I mean, we haven't seen much of him after his injuries, but I already thought that would be a very difficult move for him to make his worthwhile in at the United.
Are you not surprised how Ten Hag is like not really getting the best or anything out of Antony and obviously Van as well? Because like they were two players, in terms of him being Dutch, he should know what they're about. I think Antony, I can't be sure on the other one, but Antony was a former player of his, and they're both kind of struggling. As Luke said, United, there's a lot more issues than just the players. United, quite frankly, is a mess right now. But are you two both surprised by how it's gone for both of them under someone like Ten Hag, who should have been a breath of fresh air, really, when he came in the door for both those players?
It's quite difficult because when Ten Hag was at Ajax, especially in that 18-19 season, he was blessed with the players he had. You can't get another Frenkie de Jong. You can't get another De Ligt, what Frenkie de Jong does from picking the ball up from the defensive lines and then bringing it so high, what he does with Barcelona, you don't find anywhere else. It's why Man United wanted him so much, right? So they have to make do with what they can get, and ultimately they chose Mount. Using, whatever you say about Mount, he's not Frenkie de Jong, right? So the expectations are always going to be high, and unfortunately, I don't think he was ever going to meet them at Man United. I know it's easy to say in hindsight, but with the problems they had with their owners and the CEO stuff and the imbalance in their squad, the Greenwood stuff happening at the same time, Rashford not on form, it was, I think, just loads of stuff. And I think he's coping well enough to still be in the job, but can it get better for him? I don't know. He needs a lot of help from the club.
Are you kind of shocked then, both of you, with like his philosophy? Because I can't. It feels, again, I'm no Ten Hag fan. I don't know him religiously like that, but just from looking at how he kind of played football at Ajax. Now, and I get it, you have to adapt to clubs, but it does feel like he's quote unquote going against his principles. And if he was to leave tomorrow, yeah, he's won the League Cup, but I wouldn't quite be able to put my finger on what his identity at Manchester United has kind of gone to. So, like, what would you two put it down as a problem for him? Has he gone against his principles? Is it just too much, as Luke's alluded to, with all the other stuff being a Manchester United manager? Or I'm not sure, man.
Go on, Papi.
Yeah, can I answer that? I think.
Yeah.
Look, let's start with the most important thing. Martinez getting injured is not going to help anyone because he was the leader in the back, and I think that was one of his best signings, to be honest. I think in his first season he did great. People tend to forget how in shambles the team of United was before he came there. He had to really adjust it completely, and not playing the Ten Hag way. Yeah, he still has to deal with the likes of Rashford, Sancho, what's his name? Harry Maguire is still there.
Yeah, the Ronaldo stuff as well.
Ronaldo stuff, exactly. It's like he's managing a kindergarten. That's what It's not a top. It's a professional club to be doing this. I mean, if every week I'm reading, the training is too hard and the training is too of the same, and
you're a bag of the money, man.
The first players that would start doing and saying these stuffs, I would sell them. I mean, and that's exactly what he has to do. I feel like first of all, these owners put a hold into the growth by wanting to sell United. I thought that was a really bad move. They didn't have money, so they went for a loan deal for Wout Weghorst, which I don't think is United level whatsoever. So, it's a combination of what the trainer wants and the club, and I feel like that is not in sync yet. He's trying to make the best of what he has, but he's playing still a counter-attack based way to suit the likes of maybe Martial, maybe Rashford, but it's not the way he wants to play. And for him to change the way he wants to play, he has to change certain things in the midfield and
facts.
Rashford and Martial.
It's bang on the money, man. I mean, it's interesting because I must admit, I did think Ten Hag would fare a lot better at Man United, regardless of the kind of variables that he can't control. So it is interesting. You lot obviously spending the best part of a season or two seeing him kind of reflect that really and truly. I kind of want to jump a bit back because you lot spoke about the Ajax team who reached the latter stages of the Champions League. Like, how good was that team? And are you surprised why all of them, is fair to say, they're all at high levels, but they've all kind of struggled. The Deludeds, the Jongs, I know he's not Dutch, but the Ziyech's, they've all kind of struggled. Like, what's you lot's thoughts on, the aftermath after that Champions League run, really?
Go, Papi, have another.
Yeah, sure. I mean, look, I can only talk about specific people. If you talk about, like, for instance, Ziyech, he goes to Chelsea, plays under Tuchel after a couple of months. I think the Lampard was sacked back then. Was it Lampard that was the coach?
I think
Tuchel, yeah.
Yeah, and then Tuchel came in. That's not the way Ziyech likes to play. That's not, he likes to play a lot of press forward, a lot of running, but that's not the Ajax way. That's not the Ziyech way. So I thought he wasn't using him to his fullest potential. From the Beek, we already discussed. Frankie de Jong goes to Barcelona. That's a huge club, but they're in shambles financially. So he's also not, but it's still a world-class player in my perspective.
Would love him at Arsenal.
And I think you also mentioned De Ligt, but De Ligt went to Juventus. Not really his style of playing, more defensively. I think at Bayern, he should be getting more chances. But again, he has two other world-class defenders he has to deal with, Upamecano and one more. I forgot the name. So he
struggling as well. Really.
Yeah, who's the other one playing in the back?
Kim Min-jae, I think.
Great save. Yeah. He just signed for them in the summer. Yeah.
Exactly. So he has to deal with two other top contenders, world-class defenders for that position. So I don't think, Frankie and De Ligt really made any mistakes. Ziyech, on the other hand, that was a 50-50. He didn't know he was going to get a coach. Van de Beek, in my opinion, made a really bad decision. What other players were there back then? I mean, the rest
felt like
was...
they had a whole 11 of players that every other fan would have taken at their club, man. I certainly would have loved Frankie.
Mazraoui.
Yeah.
Mazraoui went to Bayern. I mean,
Yeah,
look,
he's
the
at Bayern.
combination of all these players, it just worked out. And it wasn't only that; it was players that seasoned at Ajax for a while. You know, you had Tadic and Blind that came in. We bought them, so we had a young team, and these types were coming in to add extra quality, but also experience, leadership on the pitch, etc. So that was already great. And when we talk about the midfield, we had Schöne, Klaassen, also experienced players at Ajax. And we all know, I mean, they were already a little bit older, but Schöne had a great free kick. He was really a specialist. We saw the goal against Real Madrid. So it all came together for Ten Hag in that specific season. The only thing you could say when Ten Hag started at Ajax, he didn't have Tagliafico. He brought him. That was his first signing, actually. And that turned out to be a lot of grinta, a lot of power, great defender, and that worked out pretty nice. But the rest of the team, that was already there. That was already gelled. That was already that understood each other on a different level after seasons and seasons of playing with each other. So that's what helped Ajax.
I mean, I'm quite jealous because regardless, you know, once Ajax sell these players, it's kind of not you lot's problem. You lot make great money on the individuals. You wish them all the best and keep it moving. I know he technically didn't play for Ajax, but obviously you lot watch Dutch football. Arsenal have been linked with Xavi Simons. What do you lot make of him? How big of a player do you think he could be? And are you surprised he's not really had a real look in at PSG?
Yeah, man. Whenever I've seen him play, he's electric. He's always on the score sheet. Well, he was when he was at PSV, he was always on the score sheet, and it really annoyed me, and I'm sure it annoyed Papi and other people. Just always popping up with goals, whether it's last minute, first minute, all the time. And now he's doing it again in Germany. You know, I think PSG have pulled a move where they knew they had a buyback clause and they can get a lot of money for him if they don't want to use him. And I think they're spoiled for choice with that, to be honest, because who wouldn't want to play for PSG with the money that they can offer you, right? But at the same time, it does show that he can go and play anywhere because he's doing it in Germany and he can do it in the Eredivisie, and maybe the next step up for him is the Premier League. But he's shown he's very composed, eye for a pass, can finish, very explosive with his pace. And he's just shown he's very smart. So whoever manages to get him, if it's Arsenal or he goes to PSG, they've got a top player on their hands.
I think you're bang on the money. P, have you got anything to add to that with Simons?
Well, I know Arsenal plays with 2 number 10s, right? It's one pivot.
I wouldn't quite describe Havertz as a 10 because he ain't really my sort of 10, but you're right still.
but you have Odegaard and Rice, right?
Yeah.
That play a little bit more up front, and then you have, I think,
You got them two pressing high,
CDM.
like typically, yeah. 2 of the 3 of the
Exactly.
midfield will press high into the other field, and then you have one kind of holding. So you're right still.
And Xavi would be a substitute for one of those 2?
Probably.
Because I don't see Xavi as someone that sits on the bench.
I mean,
when you buy him, he's going to be your starting 11 because he has a lot of movement. His finishing is great. Always on his front feet. Yeah, he's dangerous. So it would put Arsenal on a different level, I think. Yeah,
I would love
I think he would be great in the left 8. He's left-footed, Papi, is he? I think he's left-footed, no? Or is he right-footed?
If he's left-footed, he's even better than I thought because he looks like he's got both of them.
Exactly, but you know, covering a little bit of Arsenal really quickly, I think with Declan Rice, you know, he could offer good competition as a left 8 because I feel like Declan Rice as a 6 doesn't really work with the progressive passes kind of thing. Yeah. Thomas Partey, Jorginho could play better progressive passes, so he can receive the ball a lot more and he'd be more dangerous at the edge of the box and things like that. That's more of his game, more like a 10 rather than an 8, you know.
And I like Simons, man. I mean, it's easy for me to like Spanish and Dutch players, you know, and technical footballers because I'm a Wenger baby. In my 28 years, that was all I ever knew, really and truly. So I like him. I think last season we played PSV twice in the Europa League, fell in love with the player, went to the Emirates and thought, all right, cool. Because sometimes especially these young players, they look good on YouTube. It's a bit weird, but people have kind of known about him from 12, 13. So it's lovely to see the talent matches up and his ability to play out wide. In this day and age, I agree with you. I think his future is centrally, but you do need to kind of play in a couple of roles. He also ties into our young system, but unfortunately, it probably comes down to money. And, you know, PSG don't exactly need cash. They won't exactly make it easy for Arsenal. So I have to take it from there. What do you lot make of, I can't pronounce his name. Is it Brobbey or something like that? I'll be honest.
Brobbey.
Yeah, that you've saved me. I'll be honest, I don't think he's that good. He's linked with United. You lot are allowed to have him, but you lot watch him. Maybe you lot could change my opinions, or maybe I'm being a bit harsh and an ignorant English follower of football. Really, we've been linked with him. So, what would you lot make of him?
I love him. I'll let Papi do it, but I love him. I love him.
Now, both of you take it away, man. Us fans want to hear. I'm not convinced at all.
Look, beginning from the season, everybody was talking about his efficiency, right? He wasn't scoring the chances that he needed to score, but he elevated his level mid-season. Like, he's strong. It looks like he's stronger. His combination, when with his back towards the goal, he can link up play. He can turn away from his defender. His scoring is much better. He is strong, like Lukaku strong. I'm talking about, and he has the pace to deal with the Premier League level, I would say. So give it another season, and I think he would be the best striker in the Eredivisie. And could he be the best in the Premier League? Yes, I think so.
Big praise, man. You know what? You're convincing me. I know technically he's Dutch, but he didn't really get a sniff of real first team football like that in Dutch football because he left early. And I can't pronounce his name, but is it Joshua Zirkzee? Is another one we've been linked with. What do you lot think of him and his progress in Italy as well?
I haven't followed him so much, but I know that he's doing great. So, Luke,
I
can't say much about
the same thing. I can't say much. I don't follow him that much. No.
Mine. My last two questions. Go on. I'll cut you off.
No. I know he did great in Belgium, and then he went to Italy, right? So he's
currently
for Bologna now.
Yeah,
exactly. And I saw one goal from him that was fantastic. Like a lot of technique, control. So he does have the basic capabilities, but I haven't watched too much of him to really determine if he's good for the Premier League. Yes.
Sorry, just one thing about Brobbey that I just want to put. He's a proper target, man. So many chances get made for Ajax where he's in the opponent's box, pushing the centre back right down to their goalkeeper, next to their goalkeeper. He'll hold it and he'll lay off a pass to someone in the box by the penalty spot or so and have a shot. You know, he can score with his left, score with his right. You know, we have these things. So last season, I was really high on him and I thought he could improve. And then the start of the season, he didn't do that great. New manager and things. And then this season, I criticized him on one of our streams at the start, and then suddenly he scored loads of goals.
You took it personally.
Criticize him more, you know. But you know, we always questioned his attacking prowess, his intelligence to make a run or where to run, because there are times against PSV. I think in the Becker final, he had 3 chances. He hit the post on one, I think, and he had a couple of chances. I believe I'm correct, aren't I, Papi? Yeah, he had a few chances, and he could have scored 3 or so, and he didn't. And it's like, you know, that composure, we were questioning it. But this season, he showed that he can lead the line, hold the ball up, win headers. He scored quite a few headers this season as well. If I had to compare him to someone, for me, I get Ivan Toney vibes, and I know that will be quite controversial to an extent.
You're not convincing me that he's the guy now, man.
But it's just obviously he's not as good at penalties, and he hasn't got the Premier League experience. You know, but he's 5'11" and doesn't get pushed off the ball. Like, he's not even like 6'4". He's 5'11", can win a header, can hold people off, you know, and if he does get thrown off, it's a foul. But for me, in terms of holding the ball up and where he moves to receive it, bringing other people into play, I get Ivan Toney vibes, you know, 1-2s and things like that. So hopefully the next year he can get to that level and then he can move on or stay at Ajax, hopefully.
And do you know what it is with strikers? To be fair, especially him, he's in his early 20s. It is a bit of a harsh one because strikers do take a while. There's been many strikers that I haven't necessarily rated, and then they've gone on and through the ages and developed and become great talent. So, I mean, I guess based on what you lot are saying, that's probably why he's linked with a return, a reunion of sorts with Ten Hag at Man United, if that's the case. I mean, I think it's easy to probably link Arsenal with strikers, young and old, because we need a forward. So I don't know if there's any credible links, but if we are doing our homework, you'd imagine we're scouting people. I've got 2 questions for you lot because I wanted to save the best till last where Arsenal's concerned. What do you lot make of Timber? How good do you think he can be? And like, take me back to the summer. Like, what was your thoughts when he moved to Arsenal? Was it a match made in heaven? Do you, like you kind of said it earlier, do you think it was a year too late? Do you think it was a long time coming? Like, what's your thoughts on everything Timber, guys? It was
a match made in heaven, in my opinion. So, you know, for me, he's never been at centre back. You know, you're all in your head. You said you think centre back. You think 6'2", can jump in the air, win a header. For me, he suits the role of playing a left back or right back. Come inside, bring the ball out of defence, play, progressive passes to people's feet, to players' feet in that, but also very agile, but also strong, can hold off a player,
Very
right?
strong.
And he was, in my opinion, I'm sure to other Ajax fans' opinion, he was his best when he had Lissandro next to him, who was the grinter, who was the leader, could help organize the defense, and he was a bit more, flary, bring the ball out, passing and things like that. And they were both able to play these passes, so we could progress the ball quite quickly or precisely. So to go to Arsenal, it looked like, if you didn't know it was going to happen, you could sit there and say that he looks like an Arsenal player, especially the way that Arteta had, Tomiyasu playing when he joined, and how he tried to get Tierney to play before he moved and things like that, So it looked like it's kind of the player that he needed for me.
Pappy, you got anything to add to that?
Look, I always see him as a CB, but that's maybe my Ajax way of looking at things. My favorite backs are Roberto Carlos and Cafu, so you might understand what I expect.
Yeah, that's where the bias comes
from a back, right? So he's a little bit different, but I think when I saw him play at Arsenal the first couple of games, he was so composed. His passing was simple, but so accurate, so good, so composed. I like everything about him. He's from the same island as I am, so hard not to love, right? And look, I could even see him. He's more, you can put him in CB. I can even see him as a 6, to be honest. But next, Saliba is left, right?
Saliba, so I think he would. Gabriel left.
Okay, so I even see him as a CB. So even next to Gabriel, that's already a little bit stronger in the headers and the physical thing. I think he could be a good duo. So you actually bought somebody that can play on multiple positions and is good at any one of them. And he has the physical ability to just stand his own against anyone in the Premier League. So yeah, I'm a big fan of him. I'm very happy that he went to Arsenal, because Arsenal is my second team after Ajax. So
I knew he was a good guy, man.
Also from the Wenger. I mean, I grew up with Wenger. Hard not to love Arsenal. So,
and I mean, where it comes to Timber, I mean, there's so much to like about him. I actually like his temperament. He's not overruled or anything, regardless of the occasion. I think he stood up to be counted in our Community Shield against City. He was probably our player of pre-season. It's very unfortunate what happened to him in his first game. And I think that kind of put a spanner in our works, because as much as I like Zinchenko, I don't think, obviously, by trade, Zinchenko's a central midfielder, Timber's a defender. So Zinchenko's going to have a bit more glee on the ball. But I think where you kind of lose that with Timber slightly, I think he gives you a lot more defensively. I think he gives you a lot more athleticism. He's able to play as an organic fullback as well as inverting, and a bit like what you said with Tomiyasu, he can play across the back four, really and truly. So I'm very unfortunate about what's happened to Timber. Do you not rate his brother, because he's been linked with us? Is it Quarren? I can't pronounce his name.
Quinton.
Apologies.
Timber, yeah, he plays for Feyenoord. It's they're not going to get any love here, are they? Not a club we really like, but actually both of them started near there in Rotterdam, I think, at Feyenoord before they jumped to Ajax. And Quinton wasn't getting much time. He also wanted to focus on the midfield, not on the back line. So that's why he made the change, and he's been playing very well at Feyenoord. Is the question if he's good enough for Arsenal? I don't think he is the level of the Arsenal midfield you guys should be looking at.
Fair enough. I guess my last question then, because we have been linked with another young Ajax man. My personal thoughts is I love him, but I don't think, if I take off my Arsenal supporters cap, I don't think you should leave Ajax yet. I think you're 17. You played for the national team. You're playing week in, week out. The move will happen. Like, again, you're 17, turning 18. Just relax. But, I do want him. I love the footballer, Mr. Hato, man. What's all you lot's thoughts in consideration to him, man? How good do you think he can be? Where is he at now?
I love Hato. There's the thing, being Ajax, that he is Ajax. Whenever we see him play, it's just everything that is about Ajax. You see it in him. Every tackle he puts in, every time there's a ball going in our back line, a through ball, and all the defenders are running back, he's always the one that gets there. He has the most passion. If he was foreign, we'd call it grinter. He's got the Dutch grinter. Yeah, he's always stuck in and everything, but also could play out. And 6 foot as well, very quick, wins headers. He brings, at the moment, he is everything Ajax is about in a 17-year-old. And sadly, it's got to the point where we have to rely on these players that are this young. But he's a different breed. He joined when he was 16, So
Crazy.
incredible, and he's everything that every if you ask every Ajax fan, who's your favorite player, who's your player of the season, it will most likely be him.
Already,
You know?
And he can't have 50 appearances to his name for Ajax already. So it just shows how great he is and his potential. P, what have you got to say about Mr. Hato, man? I can't imagine you can only say praise like you. But yeah.
Only praise, but I just want to say that for somebody at 17, he's been the most consistent player at Ajax. We've been struggling. 17th to 5th. We have experienced player like Bergwijn, Berghaus.
They say I look like
we
him.
have Brobbey. Hato has been the best player in this team. He has it all. I mean, defensive wise, you look at a skinny guy that still wins his duels from older people that have been playing in the Eredivisie for a while. His on the ball control, his passing, even like it looks all so simple for him. And he's 17. So what I would say is now it's too early. Just wait. I know it's going to be a little bit more expensive, but for me, a player has to be carrying Ajax before he can make the move to Premier League. So Hato, I see him as a future captain for us. So if he signs 2 more years and then he will be totally seasoned, he will understand his capabilities to the max before he makes the move to the best league in the world.
And still be only 19, 20. Crazy.
He's still a child, and that's the thing, isn't it?
Ridiculous.
Like, he's still got loads to learn in life as well. But, you know, I just want to highlight one more thing that he brings is that he's brave and he's confident. No matter what happens, you know, he scored an own goal a few games ago, just carried on playing like nothing happened. And, you know, and he's confident, gets the ball, he always wants to bring it out. If not, he'll find a way to bring it out somehow, even if it means he drives up the field with it. It's a little bit like Timber. You do see a bit of Timber in the way he plays, in my opinion. So if Arsenal were to sign him, say in 1 year, you know, I'm worried that he'll get played on the left. To be honest, he's a central defender. Like what my opinion is on Timber is different. He has the height to be a defender and wins every tackle that you honestly like possible. Maybe like one foul in every 15 tackles or something, right? But he's definitely a central defender, you know, and he would have to play on the left because what he does for Ajax, I think he could do at such a high level in the Premier League eventually.
I mean, you lot just made me want the guy even more, man. I know what I said about young players taking your time, but if Arsenal have any few pennies to go around, spend the money, let my man stay at Ajax for a year or two, let him do his thing. And, you know, from what I can see, he can play left back and play centre half, so he's clearly an intelligent individual. And I know if we were to sign like 20 players from Ajax, not everyone would be a success, but I do think there's a way with how you lot develop your young talents, how you look at football and your ethos and what we've historically been. I think there can't be any coincidence as to, on top of just why Timber's good, why he's able to fit in and bed in so well. And I think that's something that as an Arsenal fan, we've kind of missed with our recruitment. So I think that's a step in the right direction. But as I said earlier, I think taking off my Arsenal cap, I don't think Hato should make that move yet. You're playing, you're loved by the fans, as you two have said. Just develop, and the time will come where you get that move really and truly. Like, you can learn from Timber. At the same time, though, I hope if Timber has his number, he's talking to him and telling him how great Arsenal is and what he can do in getting it done, man. So, yeah. Anyways, you two, man, Pappy and Luke, this has been amazing, man. Let us know about your YouTube channel. Again, people, by the time this video comes out, all you need to do is click the description. In fact, better yet, the title, and click on their channel and stuff. Very rarely do you see Ajax supporters talking on YouTube, so show them some love. But, yeah, let us know where we can find you. Let us know, in fact, how this channel even began.
Yeah, I will take it. I mean, we were all the channels of Ajax are all Dutch, and we knew there were a lot of international Ajax fans that also wanted to know what's going on with their club. So we started an English channel, Juan, Ajax, Sahbi, and the group just grew and evolved to this. Now Luke is there, multiple people joining as panels, and we're doing these collabs with other YouTube channels as you. So that's very good. And I just wanted to give you also our channel, by the way. The name is We Talk Ajax. You can find us on YouTube, on Twitter. And I want to give my compliments to Arsenal. I think you guys are doing much better with the recruitment.
I don't think our fans will agree, but I appreciate that on our behalf.
No, but listen, back in the day when Wenger was there, you would never have looked at Ajax players. And I'm so happy you guys are now like going after a player like Hato, because that's one of the best talents now. And you guys are on the forefront trying to get something done. And that's not something I was seeing back then a lot.
You're right, man. You're right. Let us know once again, for those that maybe didn't switch attention, where can they find you on Twitter? Where can they find you on YouTube? And what content do you have to come out? Like, do you do regular shows like on a Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Yeah, let us know everything, man.
Yeah, our YouTube channel is We Talk Ajax. We talk after every game. We have the game talks. Every Thursday is our live talk. We discuss all the things going on with Ajax at that moment. And we also discuss the games, how the players played. And we try to keep it light because, we're rebuilding. So it's not only negative. It's more of a therapeutic session, let's say.
I hear that, man. And people, make sure you're supporting them, man. I mean, I don't think Ajax is a club that has too many haters around the world, really and truly. And, these are two clearly, great footballing minds, really. And I'm sure there's a whole bunch of you on your channel. So you know where to find them. You know about their live channels. As stated, people, their link will be in the description and will be in the title. So we'll go and show them some love. Also, their Twitter accounts will be there. And I'd like to say thank you to both of you, man, because you lot showed a willingness to do this and allow me to pick your brains almost immediately after I DM'd you. So thanks on behalf of myself and my supporters, man.
You're
and
welcome, buddy.
Best of luck for the season, my guys, man. So yeah, you lot take care. Peace.
Good
Safe,
luck.
man.
See you later. Thank you.
Come on, my guys.
He always was that active and defending. I think it's like